up on it. She just gonna be a warrior with it. Like I told y'all last night, bro. Lexi Hall is a warrior, and I'm for her being a warrior. Now, with all that being said, I'm not gonna waste no time. Let's jump right into Stephanie White speaking to the media. Then we're gonna go right to Lexi Hall right after that. Let's roll it.
Here we talked about the positioning, and you said the toughest position is point guard. Now you've had 2 point guards to go down, and you brought in Odyssey at a good time. Can you talk about her coming to joining the team and how you see her now helping you in this time in the season?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I think her ability.
The Indiana Fever faces the Los Angeles Sparks in their upcoming match with expectations that the team will secure a victory and avoid being swept by West Coast opponents this season. The squad is dealing with multiple player injuries, including Lexi Hall, who sustained a significant facial injury resulting in prominent bruising around both eyes. Coach Stephanie White addressed media representatives in Los Angeles, discussing the team's current situation. When questioned about the point guard position challenges, White explained the difficulty of managing with 2 guards sidelined and praised the contributions of newly acquired players Odyssey and Shea. White highlighted Odyssey's capacity to drive to the basket and create opportunities for teammates, noting this skill helps reduce pressure on Kelsey. The coach emphasized the importance of having players who can organize the team's offensive system, particularly after losing Sophie.
Her ability to get downhill, her ability to get to the rim and play make for herself and others. It's what we needed. We needed somebody who could come in and who could take some pressure off of Kelsey in a way that Ari did, and being another person who can get downhill. And then Shea as well. Shea, in particular, when we lost Sophie, we needed somebody else who could get us organized and make sure that get us into offense, get us into the right positions. So it's always hard when you lose point guards, and for us, now this is the.
She acknowledged the challenges of integrating new players at this stage of the season while recognizing both newcomers have stepped up effectively. Regarding the league's ongoing physicality discussions, White stressed the importance of controlling manageable factors. The team cannot influence officiating decisions but can control their playing style. She emphasized defensive discipline, avoiding unnecessary fouls, and forcing opponents into difficult shots while accepting that elite players sometimes make tough baskets. White encouraged offensive aggression, stating players must embrace contact rather than avoid it and complete plays despite physical pressure. The central message remains focusing on controllable elements.
And for us, now this is the think about Caitlin and her not being back yet, and Ari and Sid, having Odyssey and Shea coming in at this time of year is tough, and I think that they've both answered the call.
Last quickly, the physicality of the game. We also talked about that last time you were here, and it seems like it's still an ongoing discussion going on around the league. How are you now handling it as far as managing with the team, getting them prepared with some of the officiating or some of the play? What are you telling?
When asked about Lexi Hall's facial injury that occurred Tuesday, resulting in significant swelling and subsequent black eyes, White smiled while expressing sympathy. She views Hall's appearance as a perfect representation of the player's toughness, noting Hall's all-out effort on every possession. White finds herself both amused and concerned each time she sees the injured player. The coach expressed enormous relief that medical examinations ruled out serious complications like fractures or concussions. She monitored the situation closely during the first quarter, checking repeatedly on Hall's status. Given the team's injury troubles, avoiding another serious setback provided significant peace of mind.
Getting them prepared with some of the officiating or some of the play, what are you telling them as the message moving forward?
I think the message for us is control. We can control. We can't control how the game is called. We can control how we play it. And so being disciplined, defending without fouling, making opponents hit tough shots, and understanding that, these are the best players in the world. Sometimes we have to live with them hitting tough shots. And so just being a little bit more disciplined in terms of how we're playing, on the defensive end in particular, and then continuing to be aggressive on the offensive end. We can't shy away from contact. We have to.
Discussing game strategy against the Sparks, White outlined key objectives including disciplined defense without fouling, limiting open shooting opportunities, protecting the paint, and playing inside-out basketball. She stressed offensive discipline with proper ball movement and avoiding excessive penetration as opponent length creates problems. Timing and accuracy in passing decisions remain crucial. When asked about playoff preparation, White emphasized taking each day individually and focusing on immediate challenges. The current game against Los Los Angeles takes priority over future considerations. Due to roster changes, the team has simplified approaches on both ends of the court while maintaining competitiveness and resilience.
On the defensive end in particular, and then continuing to be aggressive on the offensive end. We can't shy away from contact. We have to go into and invite contact. We got to be able to finish plays with a little bit of contact as well. And so the biggest thing is control what we can control.
Mm-hmm. Lexi, obviously, she had that big down in her head on Tuesday and it's developed into those two black eyes. Just what was your reaction to seeing that develop?
I mean, just smiling, really, and every time I see her, I'm like, oh, poor Lexi. But I think it really epitomizes Lexi's toughness when you.
White praised the squad's toughness and daily commitment, which positions them for success. However, attention to detail and discipline will determine outcomes. She described coaching this group as enjoyable while acknowledging that playoff-level performance requires elevated versions of themselves. The team's error margin, already slim throughout the season, has now essentially disappeared. Current injury reports indicate Caitlin Clark continues participating in shooting practice but remains unavailable for games. Chloe Bivy returned to availability after missing 3 contests, wearing protective gear on her left leg during practice sessions.
Oh, poor Lexi. But I think it really epitomizes Lexi's toughness when you look at her and you see those two black eyes. I mean, she is tough as nails. She plays all out every possession all the time. And sometimes the result is two black eyes. And so I smile every time I see her. But it definitely is a picture perfect viewpoint of the toughness that she brings.
How much of a sigh of relief was it that she didn't have anything more serious like a fracture or a concussion?
Yeah, I mean, huge sigh of relief. I kept checking in at the first quarter to find out where we were, what our status.
The official inactive list includes Clark, Sydney Coulson, Sophie Cunningham, and Ari, all dealing with season-ending conditions. Hall spoke with media about her injury experience, initially worrying about a scheduled photo session on their rest day. Her primary concern focused on reducing forehead swelling, using overnight patches for treatment. However, while the initial swelling decreased, the black eyes developed afterward, creating an unexpected cosmetic challenge. Makeup artists successfully concealed the bruising for professional obligations, with unfamiliar individuals unable to detect the injury. Hall hopes post-production editing will further minimize the appearance in official materials.
Find out where we were, what our status was. It was a big sigh of relief. She means a lot to our team, and having her on the floor is important. And with all of the injuries that we've had, we were able to take a little bit of a deep breath.
Coach, what are some keys for you guys to get this win as playoffs approach?
Well, we've got to do a good job of defending without fouling. We've got to make sure that we're limiting the amount of open catch and shoot shots that they get. We got to protect the paint. We got to play from the inside out.
Medical staff conducted comprehensive concussion and facial fracture evaluations immediately following the incident. Hall felt mentally clear throughout the process and appreciated the thoroughness of medical protocols. Ice application began immediately to manage swelling, and she expressed gratitude for public concern while assuring everyone of her complete recovery. Hall noted that Coach White's reactions to seeing her injured face involved both smiling and apologizing, though she considers the situation simply part of competitive athletics. During active play, she forgets about the injury entirely, only remembering when seeing her reflection afterward.
We got to protect the paint. We got to play from the inside out. Got to be disciplined offensively. The ball's got to move. We can't over penetrate. I think we get hurt at times because their length really affects us. So we can't over penetrate. We've got to make sure that we're making the right pass, the right read, on time and on target.
Coach, right, yep. I'm sorry, you're no stranger to winning. How are you getting the girls ready as the playoffs approach? Just beyond this game as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've got to take it one day at a time. We've got to be where our feet are. The most important game is the game that we're about to play.
The visual impact doesn't affect her daily awareness or comfort levels. The player confirmed that her vision remains completely unaffected by the facial trauma, with no functional limitations resulting from the injury. Medical clearance confirmed her full availability for continued competition despite the dramatic appearance of the bruising. The Indiana Fever continues preparing for crucial games as the season progresses.
Being good energy, I think she seems like she wants to be there. She's shooting the ball well, which is obviously a big thing as well. And it's a player who was effectively like a non-factor for the last 2-3 years of her career, 2.5 seasons if you include this year, 3 seasons of her career. Like, she was basically branded as damaged goods by Cheryl Reeve. She didn't do much for the Atlanta Dream last year, and she had 5 points against.
Powers has emerged as a valuable contributor who brings genuine impact to the squad. Powers has transformed her career trajectory after several difficult seasons where she struggled to find her footing. The veteran guard was essentially written off as a declining asset by former coach Cheryl Reeve and failed to make meaningful contributions with the Atlanta Dream during the previous campaign. Her minimal production had many questioning whether she had anything left to offer at this level. However, Powers has found new life with Indiana, demonstrating renewed purpose and effectiveness on the court.
And she had 5 points against the Minnesota Lynx. And even though she's not shooting the greatest percentage, like she's shooting 33% from the field, you can see there's a player in there. 9 boards in the win against Seattle Storm. 5 and 5 with 3 assists against the Lynx. She had 9 points yesterday, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. Albeit, again, her assist to turnover ratio is horrendous, but that's not really what she's there to do.
Her energy level appears elevated, and she displays clear commitment to the team's success. Most notably, her shooting stroke has returned to form, providing a crucial element the Fever desperately needed. The numbers tell an encouraging story despite some inconsistencies. While Powers is connecting on just 33% of her field goal attempts, her overall contributions extend beyond scoring efficiency. She grabbed 9 rebounds during the victory over Seattle, showcasing her ability to impact winning in multiple ways.
That's not really what she's there to do. She is an aggressive player who will attack the rim, play offense, and is better on defense than I thought she was going to be. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, the Indiana Fever need to get keeper for next season." Like, I don't know if that's going to be the case. I think if the Indiana Fever have to keep Aerial Powers on a minimum contract, you do it. I think if you can get her on a minimum contract, but it just depends on who you draft. Like, it genuinely just
Against Minnesota, she posted 5 points and 5 rebounds while adding 3 assists to her stat line. Her most recent outing yielded 9 points, 6 boards, and 2 assists. The assist-to-turnover ratio remains problematic for Powers, but ball distribution isn't her primary responsibility within the system. Instead, she functions as an attacking presence who consistently pressures defenses and creates offensive opportunities through aggressive play. Her defensive contributions have exceeded expectations, adding another dimension to her value.
It just depends on who you draft for next season, but all I'm going to say is you got to keep her for the playoffs. Look, Caitlin Clark is close. We know Caitlin Clark is close. So Caitlin's close, and you've got, say, Aerial Powers in there. Like, if you go into the playoffs with Caitlin as your starting point guard, with Odyssey as her backup, and Caitlin playing 28 minutes, Odyssey playing 14, and Odyssey playing a few minutes in the Kelsey Mitchell role. Because if we're being honest, Odyssey Sims is a black hole.
Discussion surrounding the roster composition for next season continues, with many questioning whether Powers deserves a longer-term commitment. The decision will likely depend heavily on draft outcomes and available talent, but keeping her on a minimum salary deal makes considerable sense if the opportunity presents itself. The immediate focus centers on playoff preparation, particularly with Caitlin Clark's anticipated return from injury. Clark's comeback timeline suggests she could rejoin the lineup during this 7-day period, creating interesting rotation possibilities for head coach Christy Sides. The backcourt rotation currently features some challenges, particularly regarding Odyssey Sims' role.
Is a black hole. She is a black hole. She fully is going to try to play hero ball. And it is what it is. Odyssey Sims super talented, but we know that. So we know not the Odyssey Sims with Caitlin Clark minutes. She's got to go full Kelsey Mitchell. We know that's going to be a thing. But I still think a lot of people are like, oh, why would they keep either Aerial Powers or Shea Petty? Why not just cut? Like, they don't have to. They don't, like, the Indiana Fever don't have to cut one of those two players. Like, they can
While Sims possesses undeniable talent, her tendency toward isolation play and hero ball mentality creates spacing issues when paired with Clark. Optimizing their minutes together will require Sims to embrace a more supportive role similar to Kelsey Mitchell's approach. Roster management becomes critical as the team approaches the playoff push. The Fever currently carry too many players and must make difficult decisions about who stays and who goes. Several candidates emerge as potential cuts, with Chloe Bibby appearing most vulnerable despite her shooting ability.
Cut one of those two players. Like, they can cut Sid Colson. They can cut, as far as I'm aware, they have the roster spots to cut one of the injured players, and it makes no difference. So healthy players, so they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh no, 12 with Timpson. So they have to cut somebody. I think they're going to cut Chloe Bibby. I'd cut Chloe Bibby before I would cut. They have the salary to do it. I'd cut Chloe Bibby before I cut Ariel Powers. Chloe Bibby does not have a position.
Bibby lacks a clear positional fit within the rotation and may not offer enough versatility to justify her roster spot. Demiris Dantas presents another challenging case. Her defensive limitations are glaring, potentially ranking among the worst in the league, while her offensive contributions remain minimal. Some argue she represents the worst aspects of Bibby's game without the redeeming shooting touch. The coaching staff will likely retain certain players regardless of performance due to potential and investment considerations.
Before I cut Ariel Powers. Chloe Bibby does not have a position. Honestly, I'd cut Demiris Dantas before I cut Ariel Powers. I think Demiris Dantas is unplayably bad. Like, I think at least Chloe Bibby can hit jump shots. Demiris Dantas is if Chloe Bibby couldn't hit jump shots. She is the worst defender in the league, probably. Like, for me, I don't see how you can keep Demiris Dantas. I would cut her, but they're not going to.
KK Timpson falls into this category, with her upside too significant to abandon despite current limitations. When examining playoff rotation scenarios, 8 players appear most likely to receive meaningful minutes. The starting lineup should feature Clark, Mitchell, Lexi Hull, Aaliyah Boston, and Natasha Howard, providing a balanced mix of scoring, playmaking, and defensive versatility. The bench rotation will likely include Bree Turner, Odyssey Sims, and Powers as the primary contributors. This group offers different skill sets and matchup advantages depending on game situations.
I would cut her, but they're not going to. They're obviously not going to cut Demiris Dantas. So it's going to be a tough one because I think Shea Petty works better as an on-ball player if Caitlin's playing off the ball. But they probably cut Shea Petty. Look, if I was to make a guess, I think they cut Shea Petty. So when Caitlin comes back, Ariel Power is there as a 2-guard. Like, Caitlin, is she going to come back in the next 7 days? 7 days from, yeah, they're playing the Sky. I think she's going to be back.
Turner provides interior scoring and rebounding, Sims offers instant offense and pace, while Powers brings energy and defensive intensity. The decision to utilize 7-day contracts makes strategic sense from multiple perspectives. These short-term deals provide roster flexibility while protecting against injury concerns. If Powers suffers a setback, the team can pivot quickly without long-term financial obligations. Powers represents exactly the type of reclamation project that can pay dividends during playoff basketball.